What's up, guys? Welcome to the third and final installment of Nostalgic Places. In this video, we'll start off with some free-to-play places like usual, and then we'll go over to some pay-to-play areas. These are places that really only made me nostalgic since I came back to RSC in 2016. Finally, I'll go over some honorable mentions in addition to this one. Here we go. The Apothecary in Varrock was pretty important to the free-to-play PK scene, since he could make strength potions from limpet roots and red spider eggs. With the rise of Pures, he was a very popular NPC. I liked how out of the way his house was in Varrock. It's not even part of the main alley in East Varrock, rather he kind of has his own alley. It kinda reminds me of all the trips of going all the way into the Varrock sewers to pick up red spider eggs to make potions. The red spiders were actually a pretty popular training spot for higher levels in FTP in those days. Ah, the monastery. Back in the day, this was a great place to train a pure and free-to-play. There are two great spots, the western room with the altar, and the eastern room with the beds and the ladder. Since the monks could heal you up to a certain amount of hit points, this was a good place if you had limited food to use for training. I had a funny memory of training back here in the day. I logged into a world and found someone in the eastern room fighting monks. He was really good at catching them when they would run, so he would catch one and he would be like, haha, caught, easy. Ever since that day, I would occasionally try to catch NPCs that run from battle and they are low on hit points as a sort of game. Although I'm not sure catching in the wild is as easy as all that. Next, the Port Sarim Jail. This area is nostalgic because of how I used it after I came back to RSC in 2009. I had a pretty horrible range level at the time, something like 22, and I couldn't think of a good training spot for it, so I actually chose this one. What made this location so special is that I was pretty much broke back then. I only had like a few hundred bronze arrows and bolts left from when I played in 2003 or 2004, yet in only a half hour I got a bunch of levels from training there. I like this spot because of the variety of NPCs that you could train on. It was a pretty ideal spot for players that train at with 30 ranged or less. So I'm in the hallway outside Alvarg's lair in 2009, doing Dragon Slayer for the first time on Runescape Classic, and I walked by someone training around the skeletons. It wasn't a bot, surprisingly, and the person was actually pretty nice. This was my first time seeing the big level 54 skeletons, and at the time, I thought they were pretty cool for some reason. Anyway, I ended up returning to this hallway several times, most notably from my Road to 80 Magic series on Twitch, where I casted Crumble Undead on the skeletons to get from 70 to 80 magic. Side note, I just realized I have all 10 of those chapters on my PC. I'll probably upload those to my Alt Fable channel soon. Anyway, ever since the day I did Dragon Slayer, I've had this weird interest in that area, which I dub Skeletal Hallway, on Crandor. I guess I remember being a new player and walking through what was a place for higher level players to train, and I've enjoyed that memory. Now what's interesting about this is that I have the footage for that entire fight with Alvarg, and a video of me taking down the Lesser Demon and Melzar's made before that, but it's on a hard drive that is currently kind of broken. I need to get it repaired. If and when I recover those videos, I will definitely share them on this channel. Another place I used to train at all the time was the Edgefield Dungeon, but specifically the immediate area where you unlock the door with the brass key and climb down the ladder. I used to train on hobgoblins a lot back then for the limpet root drops, and I would occasionally fight the level 32 zombies as well. I wasn't worried about the EXP gain back then, only making money. I even remember my gear at the time. Black plate body, iron or steel legs, and helm, and some kind of adamant weapon, probably a longsword. Oh, and not to forget that sick brass necklace. The last free-to-play place I'll cover is the Shadow Battlegrounds. I've only become nostalgic for this area since I started the Shadows clan and we started doing those clan wars. You've probably seen a few videos on my channel. We've had so many great battles there. It's not that distinguishable. It's pretty much an open field north of the Hobgoblin Mine, but south of the Loud Maze. But dang, those were good times. Now, let's get into some pay-to-play areas. These are all recently nostalgic due to me visiting them in the last year or so. No member's PK trip was complete without a Mage Bank visit. Really great memories of huge fights around here, and smaller skirmishes too. This, along with Rune Rocks, was in my opinion the main place to come to get some action or to meet another PKer for a challenge. Of course, I'll never forget my first Mage Arena training, and that makes this a nostalgic place as well. Catherby, the place to fish. It was really that simple. Spent a lot of time here in 2016 and 2017 fishing swordfish and tuna for training. I also inserted a lot of sharks here, but that's not really a valued memory. I think my most valued memory here was getting 75 fletching and proceeding to make rune arrows for the first time. I rarely visited the Grand Tree, specifically the second floor, but I always thought it was pretty intricate. I think the fact that there are so many NPCs kind of made it interesting. The highlight is the clothing shop, of course, where I got all my favorite outfits for skilling and training ranged. I think Ardoon was my favorite pay-to-play city. Not only all the good thieving spots, but also the guard dogs, which is where I trained from 50 to 60 ranged. Let's not forget about the dungeon rat south of the city, which was the best range and combat training spot for low levels and pures. It had a furnace super close to the northwest bank and an altar near that. The iron and coal mine northeast of the town was pretty nice too. Overall, a great city for almost anything. Finally, I'll go over some honorable mentions. Number 1, the Western Ruins, in the wilderness. This was one of my favorite places to train in 2004-2005, when the game was heavily botted and training spots were hard to come by. There was usually a bot in the room with that level 31 spider in the far northeast corner. I would usually stay in the main room with the level 13 rat and move around to kill the smaller ones. Not very good combat XP at all, but I made do. The Ardoon Paladin House. This place became special to me once I achieved 70 thieving, and I stayed here all the way to 82. Strange as it is, I will indeed miss these orange-bearded guys. I think I like Ynil because of how simple it was and how very unfamiliar I was with it. When I first discovered Ynil, it was the first time I had ever walked into that city in any version of the game. When I first explored the Mage Guild, that was pretty awesome. But I also liked the bar, the Surtur house, and of course, the shortcut to the Agility dungeon which I unlocked with 82 thieving. Finally, Watchtower, simply because I trained at Ynil Watchman from 65 to 70 thieving. The outside area was a pretty nice place to take screenshots, as you can see from this picture. Well, I hope you've enjoyed yet another trip down memory lane. Thanks for supporting this series through your positive feedback. Until next time.